Welcome to Check Out the Rileys. Dave C. listening. Thank you. Judi Fisher. Hello. Scott. Hello. Welcome, everyone. We are doing a uh, kind of a Bible study today, if you will. I just uh, Elect Bible Ministries is going to be our special guest. He was just here with me. Something froze up. He got froze up, and then all of a sudden he went down. So I'm just going to wait here a few minutes and see if he can get back up here. He should be able to. He is my neighbor here in the Philippines, so he's got some great internet, just like I do. Yeah. Looks like he's working on coming back up. Hopefully that pinned. Kevin Kennedy, welcome. Steve, are you back? He is frozen again. He is. This is our special guest, Steve. He's with the Elect Bible Ministry. Um, and let's see if he can get unfrozen. So, everything was working fine when we were, backstage before the show went live. I had a few bumps and stuff earlier, but I started working again. There he is. Steve, can you hear me now? I I heard Steve sigh. Oh yes. Everything was going beautiful, and then we started. uh, well, anyways, um, today we're going to talk about fear. That's pretty much our topic of the day. Fear is mentioned so many times in the Bible. Probably some of the verses that we can think of off the top of our head, it has something to do with fear or has the word fear in them. And no matter what verse it is that you're thinking of, um, the Bible really lays it out about fear and why we should not be defeated by fear. And Elect Bible Ministry, Steve here, has been doing a series, if you will, about fear. And we were just going to touch bases today and talk about it a little bit and kind of get some feedback. What you guys think? It's so easy, even myself, to allow fear, especially what's going on in the world right now. Fear, whether somebody's pushing fear at you, controlling you with fear, our enemies doing it, or whoever it might be. But fear is something that really can hold us all down and bind us up and get us where we can't do our best and make it hard to get up in the morning and make it like there's no battle to win because we fear everything, that kind of thing. So what I'm going to try to do real quick is play one of the messages that he's putting that he put out. Again, I've tried to tag his channel at the top of the chat. You should see a link, and that's to one of his messages on his channel here. Let's see, looks like he's back. Steve, can Are
Yeah,
you having fun
I'm
over
here.
there?
I don't know
Okay.
what's going on. I've done a quick speed check on my internet connection, and it tells me it's fine. So I don't know. I've no idea what's going on.
Yeah. Well, anytime it was perfect until I hit the go button, and then that's when it started freezing up, and it was like 3, 2, 1, we're about to start, and then I just seen
I
you
know.
sitting still. Oh,
Right. Well, I think what the problem is, Bill, is that I'm just looking at my task manager on Windows, and it's telling me it's literally banging against the stops 100%. So it's probably my laptop that's the problem, actually. But we've been able to manage before, so let's see if we can work it.
all right, sounds good. Um, I was trying to lead into a little bit of today's lesson or today's topic of fear. Would you like to go ahead and talk on that a little bit,
Yeah,
Steve?
sure. Well, are we on now? Because I can't see the live screen, so it's just not working for me.
Yeah.
Unless
Okay. Yeah,
now it
we
is.
are.
Got it.
Yeah, we're on.
We'll get by.
Yeah. Here
Yeah.
goes my dogs.
Okay. Uh, Lucky you. So what we're going to talk about today is fear, and it's such a huge topic, really. The title that we've used for this live stream is "The Power of Fear." Well, it's as we probably know, most of us anyway, we're probably aware that fear has been used on the population for as long as man has existed, since God was created Adam and Eve. And in fact, you can even see, if you read the story of Adam and Eve, you can, if you sort of read behind the scenes, as it were, you'll hear that the fear is a motivator there as well. But that's the thing; it's about how fear is used as a motivator to either get people to do things or to get people not to do things, depending on the circumstances. So that's kind of the topic, if you like. What we want to be able to do is to try and do some. Well, first of all, we need to understand what fear is about and how it operates in us, and that's the topic of the first part, if you like, of the first video that we have, which I've done, which basically just describes, as you'll see in a few minutes. We'll play that so that you can see just how fear is a very integral part of human nature, as it were. It is a human emotion, after all, and it's not just built into humans. You look around, and any animal on the planet, you will see that fear is also a motivator there. Lion chasing gazelle through the African bush tells you that fear is a motivator, because the gazelle runs like I don't know what. So let's first of all, let's have a look at that. And Bill, if we just can you throw us up the first of the videos, please?
Yep. Give me 2 seconds here, and we'll try to do it.
Okay.
Thought I had it queued up.
Well, that's the beauty of doing things live, isn't it? So
You never know what you might get.
that's right. Well, I'm going to sit back and be quiet while you're playing this. Okay. I should just point out the volume on this particular video is a little bit low, largely due to the fact that I didn't realize my microphone wasn't working when I recorded it. The mic on your shirt, But anyway.
Yeah.
So do you have sound on that, Bill? There you go. Oh.
It's just like you said, it's really, really light, I guess.
So much so that it can be something that will control your entire life if you let it. So that's the point of this video today. I want to say to you that it doesn't have to go. But before you can rein it in,
firstly, you need to be aware it's there. Well, secondly, what's driving it? So let's take a quick look at fear in general, so we're on the same page. Okay? Fear is a natural response. It's built into us. Our bodies all have a critical response system that's designed to jump into action whenever we experience fear. Our nervous system is that system, and it has an automatic control over a whole range of internal organs like heart, stomach, or muscles, and they all react together to make our body ready for the threat. So, if we experience some type of threat, our brain responds instinctively, almost out of our awareness, mostly. And that means that not only do our internal organs respond, but our thinking, our emotions, and our behavior. So exactly how we respond will depend a great deal on our bringing, our life experiences. So when we say threat, what exactly do we mean? What things can force us to do things that we might not do under normal circumstances? Maybe stepping out into the path of a bus without thinking. Maybe you just don't have enough money to buy some food for you and the kids. Do that. Or maybe every news channel is telling you there's a killer virus and you need to wear a mask and stay away from other people. I picked just a few things that create fear in us. But there are many other things, as I'm sure you're aware. So you see, to have a fear response, you don't just have to be faced with a life or death situation. Fear is a natural response. It happens in all of us, without exception, because we're all human. And it's an important thing to realise, because it's such a well-known and understood reaction. And much effort and study has shown that inducing fear is a great way to control it. It can also be used as a weapon. Now, fear response is really easy to trigger, really. It can be used to shape our thinking and behaviour because of, well, the misuse of the study of psychology. And because of that, many people around the world have used these techniques and developed techniques, very sophisticated ones, which harness fear to their advantage. Now, this is a great evil. Not psychology. This is the mistake that a lot of people make, is that a lot of Christians say, yeah, psychology, this is the study of the devil. Well, no, it isn't. It's the misuse of, like a tool, like a gun is a tool to a soldier. Without pulling the trigger, the gun is useless. The same thing applies to the use of psychology. There are some really naughty, strange people who have come up with some very anti-Christian, anti-human, actually, ideas, if you like. But I believe it's a mistake to, as we say in probably the States, to throw the baby out with the bathwater. Now, there are developed methods that are used to subvert you today. So maybe you suffer from anxiety. Maybe that's because you have a fear of something about, or you don't. Now, you could, if you wanted to, spend a great deal of time, energy, money, trying to sort yourself out. It's like getting therapy, but that's only going to help you so much. I say that because I used to be a therapist. You see, the real solution is in the knowledge that no matter what happens to you in this world, you can have total security and confidence in knowing that God has given you His goodness, His grace, and His protection. Those are not the only things that He gives. But remember, the fear that you feel today is always triggered by emotional response to a perceived threat, whatever that threat has been. But if you accept Christ into your life, you can rest on the total assurance that comes from His promises. So any threat to your life or security today, it's almost like a temporary inconvenience. Overcoming fear is easy when you put the trust in God. Just to give you a little story, it's a very short one.
Lost the sound. We seem to have lost the sound on that bit for some reason. And we can talk about it rather than just sit there and listen to that or watch me doing what I'm doing.
Safe from the enemy, Satan.
I lost all sound altogether.
Also safe.
Back again.
The enemy will use any means necessary to turn you away from God. So, here's a simple rule of thumb. If something's not godly or in line with His commandment, then it is of the devil. Don't be fooled or manipulated. Turn to the Lord for protection. Come to Jesus now. He's just waiting. May the Lord bless you and keep you. Excellent.
Okay, dokie. Let's sorry about the issues there. When I went to mute my mic to get someone to shut the door, that's when the sound quit working for the other screen. I didn't know it did that. So I gotta have my mic open. So while that's happening,
Right.
so learn something new today, bam.
Learning curve, isn't it? We're all.
Right.
It's a bad day when you don't learn something. So, okay. So let's. Shall we say a few things about that video? Sorry, Bill.
1 second. I'm just gonna welcome in a few people that came in
Sure.
recently. Again, Judy, thank you for hanging out. Dave, C, Scott, Kevin Kennedy, Mercury 3 is here. Thank you guys all for coming in and hanging out with us. Again, sorry about the issues. I am a rookie at this. As far
Me
as
too.
doing multiple tasks, multiple screens here. But I appreciate you guys hanging out. I also, in the description, I have posted not only Elect Bible Ministries link, but I have posted the 2 videos that we're talking about fear today, and the things that we are going to be actually looking at. So take your time, go over, visit his channel, make sure you subscribe to it, leave comments on his videos. That way it gets shared out to more people. And Barry, good morning. Good to see you again. Good morning from China. Awesome. Yeah,
Wow.
we are very thankful, guys, that you're coming in and hanging out with us. We know that, if we put on a Bible study, if we're talking about the Word, we're not going to draw a huge crowd. We already know that. However, it's so important. What if we touch one person today? One person hears about something that they have never heard before, they've never seen. This is well worth it.
Yeah.
That one person, if we plant a seed today, that is an awesome thing. So we're in it to win it. So I appreciate you
Yes,
guys
absolutely.
bearing with us and being here with us. I'm going to turn it back over to Steve again. Steve, he runs the channel is Elect Bible Ministry. He also has a website and other things, and he can tell you more about that. But number one, go visit his channel, go check out what he's doing, go see what his ministry is all about, see if it's a good match for you. Sign up. Bam, there you go. Go ahead, Steve, and
Excellent. Okay. Well,
just a little
let me
bit.
just sort of follow on from what you've been saying a little bit, which is about what this is all about, really. Now, we've advertised this as a Bible study, but I don't want this just to be something that. Well, I don't just want it to be a Bible study. See, the whole point of what I'm doing, what we're doing at my ministry, yes, of course, it's about spreading God's word, but at the same time, I'm also drawing from my background as a therapist. Now, some people they have a bit of an issue with, well, you were a therapist and now you're doing a Christian ministry. Well, I've come to terms with that, and I know I know how that works out. What I firmly believe in is that human beings have problems. Everyone has problems, and some of those problems can be sorted out literally by talking to a friend. Yeah. And I think everybody knows that you talk to a friend, somebody who wants to listen, somebody who's, they're not going to, maybe they might give you some advice, maybe they don't. So that's partly what this is all about, really. We're not here to try and fix individual problems. If you have an issue, and we're talking about fear, if you have an issue, well, obviously from where we are, we're not going to be able to sort that out for you. We can't do that. It's impossible. But what we can do is to at least try and open the door to a certain amount of understanding, and in this case, as I said, about fear, which is why I opened up that video you've just watched. If you watch that, you'll see I talked about things that are to do with us as humans. The business about fear and how it controls us, and how it can be used against us. But obviously, we have to realize that fear, as I said in the video, fear is a natural response. It's a natural response to, and this sounds a bit psychology, and I'm sorry, but it just happens to be fact. You have the psychologists, they like to use the phrase stimulus and response. Okay, this is a very sort of catchy phrase they use, but even so, a stimulus is something happens that's scary, and your response to that is to be frightened. Okay, stimulus and response, and that's basically what it is. So if you poke me with a stick, I'm going to go ow, and I'm not going to like it. So that might generate some other feelings as well, actually. But fear is something that is built into us. Like I said, our whole body, believe it or not, is actually built to be able to manage that fear. So fear being an emotion, some people have this idea, is it the emotion or the thought that generates the action? I'm not going to get into that debate, but the thing is, when we're frightened, our body kind of goes into automatic mode, because it's built into us. Our nervous system, as I mentioned in the video, it is actually, there's two parts. There's the system, I can never remember the names. The autonomic nervous system, it's called. There's two halves to it, and that depends on, you've heard the phrase fight or flight. Well, a decision has to be made. Are you frightened enough to make you run away, or does your fear make you want to fight back? Okay, I don't know about that, but there is this natural response that we have. So if you consider that our nervous system is such a key part of who we are, obviously you can't do anything if your nervous system doesn't work. But if it's got this built-in reaction to fear, well, we're all subject to it. So there's nothing else you can do. The problem with that is that fear is used by other people sometimes to impact us. See, that knowledge, this is why, I've mentioned in the video about psychology being misused, because it has been for many, many, many centuries, actually, because it's been common knowledge since the Garden of Eden, like I said, that fear is something that motivates people, and you can get people to do things by invoking fear in other people. So and obviously some of that will depend on your own life experiences and how you react to that individually. So it's a very big subject, and I'm not proposing to go into it all, but I just sort of want to sort of touch the base, if you like, baseline of the fact that this is a very human thing, which, some Christians would say, well, we got to run away from all the humanity of it, and we've got to sort of concentrate on what the scripture says. Well, yes, I agree to a point. Yeah. So I want people to realize that what's going on in the world today, and I think that's the main motivator for me to talk about this today, is, as we said, this huge problem that's in the world today that's generating such a huge amount of fear. And I think everybody knows what it is. I'm not going to mention it on here because YouTube have their little algorithms and they like to sort of filter people out. So I'm not going to mention, I think we all are aware of what's going on in the world, and we're all aware of how scared people are. But what kind of scared? Are we talking about, well, I'm frightened that somebody's going to jab me with a stick, like I said before? No. You're frightened that somebody's going to come, a policeman's going to come knocking on your door and count how many people you've got in your house to make sure that you're actually complying with regulations. Or you go outside and you're not wearing that funny face thing that thing that shall not be named on your face, and somebody harasses you and gives you a hard time about that when you go into a shop because you're exempt, for example. Now, in my country, in England, they've told us quite contradictorily, if that's a word, that, yeah, the law that says if you can be exempt from wearing one of those face diapers, okay, you can be exempt, but you go into a shop and the shopkeepers and the staff and the security people all give you a hard time because you're not wearing one. Now, how do you deal with that? So these are just the little things that are happening on an everyday basis. Some small things, some bigger things. People are getting arrested. People are being, what's the word? Cancelled, if that's the right word, online, and all manner of things. But there are other things which lead to fear, which are to do with our kids. Now, we're not going to talk about this today, but if you look on the channel, my channel, you'll see on Elect Bible Ministries that I'm also covering the issue about children and what's happening to them. So that's another subject which, as I say, I won't talk about today. Right. So this business of misuse of psychology, it's something that we need to be aware that these things are happening to us, that fear is being generated in us, and very oftentimes we don't actually know what the cause is. So we could be experiencing anxiety and things like that. Just as an example, I was visiting some people a couple of weeks ago, and some relations of my wife's actually, and there was a young lad there, a 20-year-old lad who had been diagnosed by local doctors, and don't forget we're in the Philippines here, so it might be a little bit different here. But he was given, he had a big problem at home. Okay, and the problem with anxiety. So he went to the doctor and he ended up getting 2 different sets of quite strong drugs. Yeah. This seems to be the way that a lot of medical people deal with anxiety, stroke problems. Now, I actually read a psychologist's report on this young lad, this guy, and I talked to the parents, in fact, to find out actually what had been going on. Now, what I discovered simply by reading the report and talking to the parents and the guy was there as well, but he wasn't saying much. What I discovered was that this young man had a panic attack, and that's all. But because this young lad unfortunately has learning difficulties, all right, he was given some responsibility that he couldn't handle and had a panic attack as a result. Doctors fed him and filled him, and for the last 2 years he's been taking antipsychotic drugs simply because he had a panic attack, which is nuts, to be honest. Okay, but the reason I mention it is because a panic attack is a very, very acute physical response to fear. And sometimes, and I'm sure people who are listening, they may or may not be aware of it, that such a reaction is so extreme, you actually think you're dying at the time. So fear can be a very sort of subtle thing that tickles away at the back of your brain, and it's there on a sort of a daily basis, or it could be this monumentally massive thing that literally makes you think you're going to die. So let's be clear. Fear is a very big thing in most people's lives. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely, Steve. It's something that I've battled personally. Fear and different anxiety. I battle anxiety all the time. It's something that I try to lean more on God with. And believe me, I've came a long way with his help and his understanding. I'm not where I used to be, but I'm not where I want to be, right? But we've talked about medications and different stuff, and that is something that it seems like, even from where I've come from, that number one, they just want to throw that at you. Here, this is a fix-all. This is get you where you need to be without treating the problem. Without getting to the roots. Just throw medicine at it, throw drugs at it. This is your fix. This is what's going to get you fixed, and those things may calm you down for a moment. They may get you to so you don't feel like you're having the heart attack. But that is not a fix. That will not fix you. It will continue to come back and
oh, absolutely. That's true. I mean, sorry, carry on, Bill.
No, I was just saying, for personal experience, that it comes back. I can take that medicine, but as soon as it's wore off, if I haven't calmed down from the fear that I was having or what was causing the anxiety, it will come back. As soon as the reaction from the medication is done, here it comes back. So
yeah. Well, you see, that I don't want to sort of launch into a business about therapy and stuff, but I do want to mention I just mentioned a couple of things about that. I worked for the health service for for the majority of 15 years, most of that time full time, some of it in private practice. So I've had people coming to me who were shall we say, what's the word? Who were referred by their general practitioner, or in other countries they call that internal medicine. So I've been receiving and talking to people about these issues, and one of the things that I noticed about my clients, and it took a long time for me to realize this very, very simple fact, and I call it a fact because it's something I discovered from working with clients on an ongoing basis for years. Okay, I listen to my clients talking, and I'm just listening and doing what I do as a therapist. But what I discovered was that almost every single client that I came to, that came to me, I should say, the root cause of what was, what was wrong with them was fear. In one guise or another, it was fear. of something or maybe someone, I don't know. So, and that was a sort of a slow dawning, if you like, for me, that so many people with so many varied and different problems that came to see me, that it basically came down to that. And I'm being very sort of broad in my sort of, if you like, understanding of it. But in the end, it was a fear of something. So it is quite an important issue, and really does sort of get to the root of us. Now, what you were saying, Bill, is, yeah, you're absolutely right. I mean, if you don't get to the root of what's going on, if you can't, and I'm saying that now, but that doesn't mean to say that, okay, well, I've discovered what the problem is, and then, tomorrow it'll be gone. No, it doesn't work like that. Sorry, it doesn't work like that. Sometimes it does. I mean, don't get me wrong. There are some people, once they discover what was actually causing this issue, they have a think about it. Things start to sink into their mind over a period of time, and then boom, and then they feel okay about things, or much better anyway. That's the plan. That was me that was my goal, if you like, of being a therapist. I wanted to help people to overcome human problems. The problem, of course, is that sometimes it's so ingrained in a person. It can take a lifetime to overcome. And Bill, you've mentioned yourself, so I'm going to mention my issues with fear. And I'm not going to sort of go into a big spiel about it, but just to say that from my early childhood right the way through my entire life, or up to a certain point anyway, fear was a problem in my life too. And anxiety was an issue that was ticking away in the background. I had no idea that it was an issue because of a lack of awareness. So after many years of having to manage my life with this thing sort of rotating around in the back of my head kind of thing, affecting my everyday life, affecting my relationships with other people and at work and this, that and the other, it took me, actually, strangely, and I didn't go into being a therapist simply or I'm going to fix myself, because I didn't know I had a problem. I wanted to change and do something positive with my life. As a Christian, I wanted to do something to help other people. And it was only when I started that process of training to be a therapist that, thanks to the honesty, shall we say, of the people who I was training with, the other students on my course, the course leaders and so on, I had to come to terms with my own anxiety, my own fears. And believe me, that was like it repeatedly every week, almost every day, somebody hitting you over the head with a big stick every single day. So I had to put up that, and yeah, it did have its effects. I'm afraid my blood pressure went sky high, but it took me an enormous amount of effort to overcome, in many ways, those issues. And I'm not saying that they've completely gone away. There are still issues in my life, and I'm a human being, So to overcome fears isn't, I don't want anybody listening to this thinking, oh, right, Steve is saying, well, all you have to do is just flick the switch and it's gone. Nah, sorry, I don't buy that. Okay, well, there is one switch that you can flick, and it will certainly help. And that's the one where, as we said in the video, turn to the Lord, and that's going to be a big help, as Bill mentioned just now. Yeah. So we need to turn to the Lord. Well,
one second. Let me interrupt for 1 second. I just wanted to welcome in Caveman. Caveman, appreciate you coming in. Thank you for sharing this out and for visiting the pinned link. That is Elect Bible Ministries link. Today we're talking about fear, and we're just trying to have a topic today of looking at what fear is and what some of the things that people use as far as coping with it, And of course, we are talking about the Bible. What helped us personally, like myself. It's something that I've struggled with, anxiety and everything. And what has helped me the most, temporary help is I took a pill. Long term help, I got into the Word and got a relationship with Jesus Christ, and that's where my help has come from. Understanding what He has in store for me, and not so much worried about what's going on here, and focused in on my relationship with Him. So, but definitely appreciate that. And the something that I wanted to add too is kind of what Mercury was saying. He has a different situation where he's coming from, and we all have different. We've grown up differently. We've been in different situations, and we've all got different what I call filters. And this is how you see everybody, kind of like the glasses that people wear. You got a different. Well, I got this polarizing lens on mine. Well, I got this rose color. We see different things different ways because of who we are and how we came up, and our filters
That's
are different. And
absolutely.
but there's one thing that no matter where you came from and how you came up, the Bible is not changing. It is the Word of God, and you can break it open and go into it, and it will help understanding so much. Now, I'm not saying that you can't get into it and get lost and get on a different track than what you started in, but it's so much understanding that is there if you're interested in pursuing it. And sorry, Steve, I start going off on
No, it's fine. It's all right.
John.
No problem at all.
Yeah, it's like ooh, start going on that branch and just keep going. Whoa, where am I now?
Well, it's all. The thing is, Bill, it's all valuable because this is your experience, and it just goes to show there's two of us here, and we both had a different experience of the effect of fear on our lives, whether you want to call it anxiety or whatever you want to call it. So it's valid, really. I just wanted to jump in here and mention the scripture from this particular video that we watched earlier on, which is from Hebrews 13 verses 5 and 6. It starts off with, let your conversations be without covetousness, so not really anything to do with fear, and be content with such things as ye have. For he says, and this is an important thing that God is giving us, he says, for I will never leave thee nor forsake thee. So that is one of the things, the promises that God gives us. That if we can develop that relationship with God through Christ, we're given a lot of promises by God that says, I'm not going to leave you. I'm not going to forsake you. And one of the key issues, I suppose, about that shows us whether or not, and we'll talk about this a bit more later on, is this business about being able to speak boldly. Now,
Right.
So that it goes on in verse 6, it says, so that we may boldly say, the Lord is my helper, and I will not fear what a man shall do unto me. Now, a friend in the States recommended a movie that I watched called Polycarp. I watched it on YouTube, and so anybody can watch it. It's a very a very good story, based on a true story of a second century a pastor by the name of Polycarp in where was it? In what is today Turkey. I've forgotten the name of the place. And it was a great story about how Polycarp and the people who were with him stood up even against the persecution of Christians at the time, even unto death, as it were. Now, these are people who, knowing full well that the punishment that they were going to receive was going to have, they were going to literally be thrown to the lions. That was their punishment for standing up, but they did it anyway.
Right.
And it's a case of, about standing, and I will not fear what man shall do unto me. So the movie, the movie said that Polycarp died. Was it? No, not Polycarp. Sorry, one of his followers. That was it. One of his followers was caught by the Romans, put into the arena with the lions, stood for a moment, and then ran towards the lions. Can you imagine that? Imagine how much fear you and I would have. Can you imagine?
Yeah.
You've got this big hungry lion or a couple of lions standing in front of you, and they're all going rare, and you're going to chew you to bits, and you go running towards them. But this is the level of belief and faith in the Lord that these people had. And I'm sorry to say that very few people seem to have that today. It's missing, and it shouldn't be.
Right.
Now, I'm not going to say that I'm not sure what I would do when faced with lions or somebody pointing a gun at my head, as happens in some countries, to renounce my faith. I'd like to think that I would not renounce my faith, but I hope and pray that that's what would happen. But we have to be bold, and the only way we're going to be bold is through the love of God. So, Bill, I wonder if at this point maybe you could play some of that second video. Would that be okay?
Let me try to get it keyed up here. I apologize. I should have already went over looking.
Well, this is not a news channel, is it, where you've got to segue into everything? We'll manage.
Yeah, somebody else off camera that takes care of this type of stuff for me, and
exactly. Yeah, you've got to multitask. That's the trick. Yeah, I'm not very good at that either. There we are. So I'm multitasking now, which is very unusual for me.
Okay, let me full screen it here. Let's do it. Fear and Love is the second one. Is that correct, Steve?
Sure is, yeah. Mm-hmm.
And again, thank you guys all for coming into the chat. I see we got Lone Wolf is here. Thank you for coming in. Yes, we are doing something different today, something that we're going to try to do more of. And also, once Steve builds up his channel a little more, I'm sure at some point we'll be doing shows on his channel as well. Yenny, thank you. Kevin, again, thank you. Thank you, everybody that's joining in and joining in on the chat. I am watching the chat. I am trying to if there's something to ask or something, I'll try to get to it. But we are on topic today, so forgive me if I don't see everything that you say. But I appreciate it that you guys are here and that you guys are taking part in this. I really didn't expect to see so many people come by today, but we are appreciative and hope you enjoy and this does something for you, point you or lead you in the direction. But we do want to do more. We are given this platform, so we want to reach out and use the platform to help others if we can. So
absolutely.
I think I got it queued up here. Let's get it going, and I'll not hit mute this time. So
okay.
Again, these links can be found in the description to Elect Bible Ministries links at the top of the chat, but in the description you can also find links to these videos that we are playing today. So,
Okay.
Hello and welcome to another edition of The Comfort Zone from Elect Bible Ministries and read by myself, Steve Frisco. So let's get started.
Microphone's working this time.
There is, I think you'll agree, a very big problem in the world today. And that problem is generating a huge amount of fear in almost everyone. I think then it's maybe a good idea if we try to spend some time just trying to come to a better understanding of it. So if you remember the last time we spoke, we talked about fear as being a natural response to a threat, yeah? And we spoke about a way to overcome it. This time, I want to continue on that same theme, but with a bit of a twist. Okay? I want to tell you about an antidote to fear. No, it's not a shot in the arm. It's not a drug. The answer, as always, is in the Word of God. So let's have a quick look. Let's read a passage from 1 John chapter 4, verses 12 to 19, which reads, "No man hath seen God at any time. If we love one another, God dwelleth in us, and his love is perfected in us. Hereby know that we dwell in him, and he in us, because he hath given us of his Spirit. And we have seen and do testify that the Father sent the Son to be the Saviour of the world. Whosoever shall confess that Jesus is the Son of God, God dwelleth in him, and he in God. And we have known and believed that the love that God hath to us. God is love, and he that dwelleth in love dwelleth in God, and God in him. Herein is our love made perfect, that we may have boldness in the day of judgment, because as he is, so are we in this world. There is no fear in love, but perfect love casteth out fear, because fear hath torment. He that feareth is not made perfect in love. We love him because he first loved us." Now then, let's try and apply some of that to a situation, sort of, we'll call it a hypothetical situation, but something that most of us will face at some time in our lives, I guess, and that is about speaking out about something. You know, something that other people might deem to be controversial. So let me ask you, are you able to speak out without, like that, without any difficulty? I think most people would say no. I know I've struggled with it for many years. As a Christian living in a Western country and some of the time in an Islamic country as well, I've always been reluctant to speak out about God in any context. So why should that be? Well, I've discovered for myself that it's because of fear. And it's the fear of what other people might think or say. But it goes even deeper than that. The attitudes of other people towards us, they can affect our relationships, they can affect our job prospects, they can, many other parts of our lives. So we know what we need to do to fit in best into society. The best way is just stay quiet. Yeah, that's the best way. It's also like the expectation that we might have, and I know I have, about being perceived as being some kind of weirdo or crazy religious fundamentalist, something similar. You know what I mean. So that's why so many Christians stay quiet. But I think, anyway, I think it's simply that their fear is a stronger motivator than their faith, or indeed their love for God. And like it says in verse 18 of our passage that we read, and I'll just read it again, it says, "There is no fear in love, but perfect love casteth out fear, because fear hath torment. Yes, it does. He that feareth is not made perfect in love. So there's the connection, isn't there, between fear and love. If your heart is full of fear, then you're not made perfect in love. I mean, in other words, if your love towards God is perfect, meaning, well, not strong and sincere, then you're open to fear. See, John explains this to us in verse 17. He says, herein is our love made perfect, that we may have boldness in the day of judgment. Because as he is, so are we in this world. So, we can know when our love for God is perfect because, well, at least close to it, because that's when we're able to speak out boldly. So what's the antidote to fear that I mentioned earlier on? Well, it's very simple, really. We need to develop our love for God in a deep and meaningful way. Now, when we do that, or when we can do that, our confidence in God is high. Our confidence in our belief in God is high, and our belief in his promises to us is also high. So, with all this, we can speak out boldly about God and his kingdom without fear. So, whether you're a Christian or not right now, there's only one way to get to know God, and that's to spend time with him. I mean, it's no different than getting to know anyone, really. I mean, you ask yourself, how do you get a friend? Or a husband or a wife, for that matter? You have to spend a lot of time with them. You have to spend time getting to know them. I mean, that's how any relationship develops, isn't it? Well, it's exactly the same with God. The only difference being that, well, he is a spiritual being and not a physical one. We can get to know the nature of God through the life of Jesus, and also by learning about God's actions by reading the Bible. I mean, there is another way, which is connected to that. It's about being part of a good Bible-believing church, one that supports and nurtures its members with good, sound teaching of doctrine. So in these ways, we can gain an understanding of God's plan and his nature, but his plan for mankind in particular. So finally, it comes down to how we treat each other, doesn't it? And also by developing that belief in God, which, as John points out, has that inevitable effect of creating perfect love in us, which overcomes the fear. Now, if we go back to our passage from 1 John again, we can read in verse 12, he says, no man hath seen God at any time. If we love one another, God dwelleth in us, and his love is perfected in us. So, the antidote to fear is love. Just to emphasize that last point, I want to end with a quote from another part of Scripture from Matthew chapter 22, verse 37, which reads, Jesus said unto him, thou shalt love the Lord thy God with all thy heart, and with all thy soul, and with all thy mind. And Jesus also goes on to talk about loving one another as a necessity, commanding. Jesus knew what he was talking about. He knew what he was saying. This was a commandment given to us for a reason, because he knew that to overcome fear, a very human emotion, obviously, we needed to, in order to be bold, we need to overcome it. And in order to do that, we need to be able to love God fully. Now, when we do that, then love truly conquers fear. That's the end of this message for today. I hope that it's been helpful for you. So thank you very much for joining me, and God bless you. Until next time.
Okay, again, that message can be heard. I have the link in the description of the 2 videos that we went over today. thank you guys for listening to those and all your comments. Uh, Lone Wolf, I don't know if I welcomed you in. I can't remember now, but thank you for being here. Marty, thank you for being here. Yanni, thank you for coming in and hanging out with us. We appreciate it. Mercury 3, I am reading each and every comment. John Baker, thank you again for being here. Again, Caveman, I know he's already had to leave, but sharing us out, letting others know what we're talking about. Um, Lone Wolf, the questions like that, maybe when we have another open topic, we'll get into something like that. But thank you very much for interacting, and we definitely appreciate you. Filipina with Attitude, of course, is my wife's channel, and she is in the house. She's been here. She's across the table from me, listening and watching there. But I see her commenting now in the stream. All right. Sorry about all that. Steve, go ahead and would you like to add on to that or reflect on the message we just heard?
Yeah. Okay. To some people, I guess it might seem a bit strange to say, well, the answer, it's a very simple answer, isn't it? The answer to fear is love. While I was listening to that again, I was kind of thinking to myself, okay, so we're talking about loving God is essentially what I called the antidote. It's not. We'll just leave it. There are people out there in the world who face. We talked about facing the lions earlier on. So people who face death and are prepared to die for a cause. Well, I'm not going to mention who they are, but I'm sure we all can appreciate that. But you have to ask yourself a question: what's going on in someone's mind that is willing to, let's just say, blow themselves up with a bomb for a particular cause? And they're willing to do that. Now, we can all watch TV programs and we can see the inner workings, if you like. The TV producers, they like to show us the inner workings of the minds of some of these people and how scared they are, and they don't want to press the button and all that sort of thing. But there are people out there who have been doing it for a very, very long time, who will literally will just go click, bang. What's going on in their minds? Well, we have this tendency we think of them as being fanatics and crazy people. But in the end, no matter what the background to all of that, the fact is that a person who is willing to do that has a belief in something. Rightly or wrongly, whatever that is, I'm not going to get into that, but it's simply a matter of the human business of, I believe X, Y, and Z, it's worth dying for, and bang, they'll do it. Okay. Well, I think we could say, is that not similar to what we're talking about? This is why some people call Christians fundamentalists. I mentioned that earlier on, that we are cranks and just generally weird people, that we are, and some people even make the comparison between our belief in God and certain fundamentalist groups who shall remain nameless. I want to make a huge distinction here, is that, obviously, Christians are not willing to press a button and blow up themselves and anybody else that happens to be around them. You won't find Christians doing that anywhere in the world, so far as I'm aware. The similarity is that, yes, we have a belief system. We have a belief that is so strong that we are willing to overcome, shall we say, the difficulties or the difficulties of life. The business, I mentioned the business of speaking out, and it's to overcome that. Yeah, I struggle with that. Speaking out about, I mentioned that in the video. Speaking out, as I've always kept it quiet. Okay, I'm a Christian, but don't tell anybody. Don't. I've lost friends. A very good friend. In fact, he was my best man at my wedding. many years ago. And once he found out that I'd become a Christian, he disappeared, gone, like will o' the wisp.
Right.
Never saw him again, never heard from him again, ever. And that's the kind of price that we have to pay sometimes for our belief. It was wasn't a very nice experience, but that's life. I still didn't speak out, but I couldn't very well hide it from my best friend. He didn't like it and he went. But during my lifetime, speaking out has been incredibly difficult. I've never been able to. Now I can do it, and I can see there's a difference in the person that I was even as a Christian at the beginning of my walk with God and where I am now. And there's been a bit in the middle where I've not really done much walking, a bit of backsliding and so on. But now I can see that my relationship, my understanding of God has grown in such an enormous amount. It's got nothing to do with therapy, my being able to speak out. It's got nothing to do with being a counselor or anything like that, because I was doing all of that and still couldn't speak out. Some people would say, "Oh, you've been doing martial arts all your life, and so you're a strong person." I'm ex-military, so you've got this sort of character set that allows you to be able to be strong in your opinions and so on. Yes, no, it wasn't that, because I left the Air Force and I joined the Territorial Army and finished all of that by about 1990. And I was doing all of that, and I was still a strong person, but I still didn't speak out about God and didn't tell people that I was a Christian. So what changed? My relationship with God changed. That's what, and how I feel about the Lord. And I suppose you could say it's a bit like opening your heart, instead of where before it was like a closed book, something that you kept close to you. Now it's like a case of, if I just open up my my heart to the Lord. And strangely, now look at me now. I would, if you'd have said to me 20 years ago, Steve, you're going to be running, doing videos and talking to the world, if you like, about the Lord, I would have said you were crazy. But here I am. I'm doing it, and I don't care what people think about me anymore. Yeah, just please, let's not go down the route of throwing me to the lions just yet. Okay. So just to sorry, Bill.
Just one little side note on that. I had a similar to that. It's my mother told me when I was first started getting into a relationship with Christ. She came to me and said, "Bill, I had a dream last night that you're going to be." She didn't call me a preacher. She said, "You'll be preaching at a church one day." And I was like, "Mom, what are you talking about? That's never that's never gonna happen." When the day I was up preaching in front of a church, I was thinking, wow. I mean, it just hit me. Like, my mother told me about this way back when I first started, looking, searching for answers and getting building my relationship with Christ. It was something about the way I jumped in and was really seeking, and I put my mind, my heart, my everything into it. And I guess that she just came to me and said this one morning. I was like, wow. I don't know what. Did you take some NyQuil last night and you had crazy dreams about what's going on? But like you said, then and now it's totally different, and that's awesome. Sorry to interrupt. That just came to me, and I wanted to share it real quick.
That's fine. Bill. Well, like I said before, we each have our own experiences, but the interesting thing is that there is a common theme, if you like, in what you've just been saying, in that well, I'll go back to the story of Polycarp, if you like, or you can pick any. The Catholics call them martyrs, the ones that have given their lives for the Lord. Anybody who has stood up for the Lord. I mean, in ancient times, people got well, what happened to them? They ended up getting thrown to the lions. They get hung. They get burned at the stake, etc., etc. Any nasty thing that people could come up with. That's what happened to them. So, but the thing is, what was the common feature is that people have this ability, once they have become not a fundamentalist bomber, as we were talking about before, but someone who has a deep and unshakable faith in God. A person who has that is prepared to stand boldly and do things that in the past times in their life they would never have thought possible, but they do. And that's essentially what I was saying in the video about it being kind of like an antidote to fear. And it is. It's like, there are lots of I was talking. One of the things that I wanted to mention about that, what I said in that video, is that this business about. I want to be clear that people don't misunderstand something that was in what I was talking about in that section from 1 John 4, and that is, well, if you don't love God enough, then you've got fear coming into your life. So basically, if you've got fear, that means this is the kind of logical thinking that some people might have. Well, if you've got fear in your life, that means you don't love God properly, doesn't it? So what kind of a Christian are you?
Right.
Yeah. Well, okay. It's a point. I'm not going to say whether it's valid or not. I don't think it. Well, no, I will. I don't think it's a valid point, because I think what we've got to understand is that there is no, as I think I mentioned earlier on, there is no instant fix to fear.
Right.
It is usually, for the majority of us, a gradual process of change over our lifetime. But as opposed to the fact that those people who have never been introduced to the Lord are very likely to go on for the rest of their lives in that fear, never changing. Nothing happens. Nothing. There is no changes. So I just want to say that recognize that the changes that happen in people are not usually an overnight process. It's a long process of getting to know the Lord. I mentioned this in the video also about getting to know God. You want to get to know your wife, your families, your friends, and so on. It takes time. And getting to know their ins and outs. My wife now, she's still getting to know me. She's Filipina, and I'm British, and there is a clash, you see, clash of cultures, attitude, blah, 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 and we're still learning, and we've been together 10 years. So, and it's the same with God. If there's the book, okay, this thing, if you don't open it, if you never read it, because this is the place where we get to know God more than anywhere else. I mean, yes, you've got preachers, you've got teachers, and so on and so on. But if you don't read this, then how on earth are you going to get to know the Lord? I'll leave that as an open question. So I don't know what else we can say. You've got a comment on there you've put up, Bill. What's that about?
It's a question, and I thought it was a great one. Ken, thank you for joining us. We appreciate you, my friend. But Mercury 3 here is asking, myself, if I was, as we can say, fear, do I have fear about doing this type of stream? Because it is different from the streams that we typically do on this channel. Usually it's an open topic, or we might have a topic. Like last night I did a stream about going to Jinsun to how much I paid for my extended visa. So definitely different topic. So am I worried about what this is going to do? Putting out the words out there that I am actually, a believer in Christ. If I answer that honestly and openly, Mercury, I fear, people not not wanting to listen to my opinions on different things now that it's out there. We all have our opinion, and if I'm in a chat, I'll put out my opinion, but I've never hidden that I am a Christian, that I have these beliefs. However, putting it out there where everybody, hey, I put it, I was bold today. I put Bible study. I tried to put that in there. That way, last time we did something like that, we had a few hecklers, a few friends come in, and they were just, just saying some stuff, left field, that type of thing. So I wanted to be clear what our topic was today. Well, what that was? I thought it was a ball rolling across the floor. Like, where did they go? So yes, there is fear, but it's not fear that everybody will just drop me and no longer come to my channel or anything like that. I am who I am, and I try to be a man of God, no matter if I'm out there on the street or teaching my children or whatever it is that I'm doing. I know a lot of stuff is not shown on YouTube. You guys get the blurbs, and but my main thing as being a Christian, and me and my wife's always talked about this. I'm me personally. I'm not so much as I'm going to tell everybody, every moment, walk up to them, hey, I'm a Christian, hey, I'm a Christian, hey, I'm a Christian. It's about living the life. Let them see something different in me when I'm out and about. Hey, there's something different about that guy. There's something. What can we do to be similar to this? And this is how I was back in America as well. And here, we me and Steve, we're neighbors, if you will. We live in the same area, so we have a lot of different religions in this area. But there's a lot of Muslims in this area as well, and we, you stand firm in your faith, and some of them think I look like a Muslim, and will come up and talk to me about it. But that gives me a chance to say, oh no, I am a Christian, and that might be something. So again, being proud of who I am, proud of my beliefs. If people don't like me anymore because I believe like this, so be it. It's okay. Like Steve, I've lost a lot of friends. I've lost a lot of family members as well that will not talk to me anymore because they know
Me too.
who I am, and they don't want to hear my opinion on anything because they know I'm going to refer to Christ or refer to the Bible and talk to them about it. So, but thank you very much for that question.
Yeah, good. It's a good question. I saw it and I was thinking. So I wondered what your answer was going to be, actually, Bill. But yeah, you think you put that very well. I mean, I'm appreciative, and I should just point out to everyone that this is me trying to fulfill, if you like, a ministry for the Lord. But Bill's, we're friends. We've been friends now for quite some time while we've been here, and it's more a case of he's been helping me to do this, to get a little bit of exposure, but at the same time wanting to do something for the Lord himself. Now, just let me point out, all the videos that he's been doing, between him and his wife, that's not going to stop. He's going to continue doing all of those other things. This is something extra, if you like. So that's all. And I hope, I hope everybody has the opportunity to, well, just to continue with your interaction with Bill just the same as you did before. Why would it make a difference because he's a Christian? Are you frightened about something? You know, are people scared that something's going to rub off on me, and I might become one of those strange people? Well, if we're strange, we're strange. Sorry.
Yeah, definitely.
Sorry, Bill. Did you throw?
Kevin, awesome. What's that?
I said, did you throw up another question there, or I didn't see that?
I was trying to take down the other one, but it flicked up the second response from him. But yeah, I'm not trying to throw up too many questions today. You know, we're still, you know, we're still rookies at this, so I don't want to go too far on throwing up a lot of stuff and
no, it's
you know, 6 hours from now we're like, oh, we should get off of here.
Yeah. Well, just to sort of the latter end of that video that we watched, we were talking about. Well, actually, the title of the video was called "Fear and Love." What's the connection? I hope the video answered that question, but I just wanted to mention about love, because I don't want people to get confused by what we mean by love. We're not talking about some sort of romantic kind of thing. It's got nothing whatever to do with that at all. It's about loving your fellow. What Jesus told us is it's partly about loving your fellow man, and just to a large extent, it's about following the commandments that God gave us. The first one being, "Thou shalt love the Lord thy God," etc., with all thy heart and all thy soul, and that's the first thing that we do. But Jesus taught us about this thing about loving each other, and just to be sure that people understand that it is about appreciation. What is that love? It's about appreciation for the other people in your life, appreciation for God. Obviously, that's the other part. It's about and one of the things, I'm going to go back to being a therapist again. I sort of learned an awful lot about this thing called love, and over a number of years, what I saw was that in providing a kind of therapeutic, if you want to call it that, therapeutic relationship with someone, I was providing a certain number of, shall we say, what they call therapeutic conditions. And on my own, I came to the recognition or realization that actually what I'm actually doing is loving them. Now, the English language, unfortunately, you know, we don't have another word for love, do we? Or do we? And so people can get a bit confused by that.
Right.
And yet, what I discovered was in reading the guy whose theories I was following as a therapist, a fellow called Carl Rogers. Just in a few years before he died, he wrote a book in his late 80s, and he wrote a book, and in it he actually said, "I realized that after all my years of working with clients," and he's been at it a heck of a lot longer than I have, he realized exactly the same thing, that what he'd been providing for people was love. And that's all. Well, I say that's all. It's an enormous thing, you know, and it's very hard to explain what it is to love other people. And most of us, we think that we love people. Some of us lust other people. That's not the same as love. That's just a tiny, tiny part of love. Love has many, many, many components. Yeah. And I guess we need to have, we need to develop our feelings for other people. So what's missing in society today? Well, people tend not to love each other in that way. What's missing in society? A big thing's missing is respect for other people.
Yes.
That's a huge thing missing. If you don't have respect for people, if you don't have respect for someone, how can you love them? Please, somebody tell me. I don't know how you can do that. You've thrown up another question there from Mercury. Does loving others mean coddling unrealistic ideals? Should we coddle? I guess coddle, does that mean, what does it mean? Does it mean sort of hold on to, accept, and not challenge other people? Is that what kind of what you mean, Mercury? Does it mean ignoring other people in sort of accepting everything about somebody? If that's kind of what you mean, sorry. I don't know, absolutely not. If somebody, I guess it depends to some extent what the ideology or ideals that other people have. How far removed are they away from your own? And are the ideas that other people have, are they destructive towards themselves, towards you, towards other people? You know, it's an easy question to ask, but the detail of it is a bit sort of murky, you know. So I would say it depends on the circumstances, really. Yeah. So another question. Speak on the fear of God.
Yeah, he was wanting you to speak, if you could, on that.
Yeah. Okay. Fearing God. Are we supposed to? Again, a misconception that people have, I believe, is this: that we're supposed to fear God like any moment now we're going to get struck by a bolt of lightning kind of fear. In a manner of speaking, yes, but no. Well, we don't live in fear in the sense that we are scared to death. We live when it talks about fear in the Bible, fear of God. It's about it is actually about respecting, and that's what I mentioned a moment ago. Respecting God, respecting His authority, respecting who He is, and you can add to that lots of things. Now, let me ask a question then about that. So, do we fear the police? If we use it in that word, fear, in the same context as the fear of God, do we fear the police? Well, I think most of us, well, not everyone, but most of us would say, yes, we do. Well, what does that mean? Well, it means fear of retribution for doing something wrong, doesn't it? So if you if you do something, pick a silly idea, but if you jaywalk, as you call it in America, then a policeman sees you, you're going to get caught, fined, whatever they do in the States. I don't know. We don't have jaywalking rules in my country, I don't think. Not that you get prosecuted for, anyway. But you know, it's like, okay, so do you jaywalk when there's a policeman across the road or not? You were living in fear of that? Yeah, because you don't want to get prosecuted and you don't want to pay a fine, so you perhaps won't do it. And that's the whole business about authority figures, authority systems. You don't do bad things simply by virtue of the fact that you fear that those systems are going to punish you in some way. It might not be, the end of your life, but for jaywalking, but
Right.
So I think, when it comes to the fear of God, yes, I fear God. I fear that if I do things that are against His commandments, if I, there will be a circumstance. What's the word? I can't think of the word. There will be consequences. That's the word I'm looking for. Just the same as any authority figure. Does that answer the question? I hope it does.
Yeah, well, just try to get you to speak on it a little bit, and Phil, last night, Steve, I had a similar talk with my son about punishment, and the fear that I try to put into him for doing something wrong when he was younger. It was, you do this, you get a spanking, to prevent him from doing that. So it built up if you will, what I would what I try to explain to him, a healthy fear. He was telling me last night that he fears that I will say something to him when he does something wrong. And I said, and I tried to explain to him. I said, there's steps. Now that my son is 13 years old. When he
Yeah.
does something wrong, I don't. We don't go to, hey, I need to smack your hand for getting into the cookie jar or whatever. That was for when you were younger. Now the job is
Yeah.
different. Now the what we're trying to build in you is different from what it looked like back then. So it's talking about, is it fear of the police, fear of punishment, fear of what's going on? It's still, I it was what I would call a little bit of healthy fear. He feared the punishment.
Mm.
He feared the outcome of doing something such as
Absolutely.
this. And it's if we talk about the police, yes, there's cases where innocent people are getting you know things done to them, even being taken out by police. So it's not just on that topic. It's
No.
here we're talking about fear from a father to a child. It's so
Mm.
I don't want anyone to get stuck on since we use
No,
the
I agree.
police as anything like that.
No,
So
sure, and I agree with what you're saying, and I concur exactly. I've been having the same situation with my relatively new granddaughter, coming
right,
up for 8 years old. The same issue. Before I came back to the Philippines, that's a year and a half ago now. When I first met the little girl, she her behavior was incredibly bad. She's a lovely child, don't get me wrong, but her behavior was very bad, and she'd picked up some really bad stuff from where she'd been living before. It's taken me quite a long time, and I have had to go through the process of exactly what you're saying, of this business about discipline. I've always believed this, by the way, and it certainly worked out well. Is this great gradual introduction of a gradated version type of inducing fear, if you like. It's like saying, well, look, if you try different tactic, try and get a child to do what they're supposed to do and to learn that they can't do this or that or the other. But there is a point where you get to say, well, okay, so they're not learning this, they've not learned that, but you tell them somewhere in the future, if you carry on like this, the consequences for what's going to happen is something's going to happen you're not going to like, really.
right.
And we've been down that road once, and my goodness, it's amazing the effect that has. I have never ever had to threaten that again, ever. That doesn't mean she's perfect, absolutely not, but it's instilled a certain something in her thinking. Right. Now, it's not fear, because she expresses her love for me, and we've become very close, and so on and so on. So let's not get confused. There's all of that. There's a parent or a father's love for their child, and the way that relationship works. But if we go back to what happens with God, people get confused. They think, they read the Old Testament and they hear the stories, or they read the stories and of the things that God did as punishment to the Israelites, and that's perhaps where they get the idea of the fear of the Lord. Yeah. Well, it's a different kind of situation. God was doing something entirely different with a group of people who were incredibly badly behaved, just like a very bad child. This was a whole nation of people who were supposedly, were God's children, if you like, God's people, and yet they rebelled constantly. There's a whole list of different things that they did that they shouldn't have been doing, and God punished them very heavily for some of the things that they did. Now, that was necessary for those people at that time. So let's not get confused. I'm not going to say, well, yeah, God was really heavy-handed and all the rest of it. Is it heavy-handed to spank your child if they constantly are doing the wrong thing? Now, there will be people out there listening to this thinking, you can't do that. That's against the law.
Right.
Well, I'm sorry, guys. Read the Bible, because it tells you it's necessary.
Right.
Sparing. That's all I'm going to say on that, because it can get a bit controversial.
Yeah, definitely. With everything,
Of course.
there's different,
Questions, Bill?
Sometimes there's different cultures and their beliefs, and if you should or should not, or all that kind of stuff. But it's how I was raised, and of course, I've raised two older boys now, and here's comes the two younger ones, and so it's something definitely that I need to do, but at what level and how much and everything, it has to be something that you have to be comfortable with. But I never try to punishment out of anger or anything like that. I want to put fear. I want to put I want my children to think about it before they do stuff, but I'm not trying to make them so scared when I stand up from getting off the couch that my kids run. There's a huge difference in what we're trying to do there. Hey, I'd like to welcome in. I see Philippines on Demand came. Hello, welcome, and thank you, David. I see David C. He's said he subbed to you. That's awesome. He's already checked you out there, Steve.
Oh.
Again, the link is at the top of the chat. Definitely hit him up. Go subscribe to his channel. We will be doing more of this type of thing, more studies, talks, etc. in the future. But make sure you're connected to Steve. Again, Steve is my friend here, and we met while we've been here in the Philippines. And man, it's definitely good to have another believer that you can go to and talk to about different topics and stuff. And Steve is definitely that for me. It's hard sometimes, when we talk to even our pastor or other Christians here. Sometimes the translation will get mixed up, and we don't we don't talk about stuff. And me and Steve as well. His whatever he talks and my English is different time to time, but it's great to have somebody else. As they say, iron sharpens iron. So definitely, if you guys don't have someone that you can turn to, talk to, etc., definitely that's something to see, something to get outside the box and look for someone to sharpen iron with you. So
absolutely, yeah, and it's good to be able to talk to somebody who has, let's say, a good knowledge of the language. So I don't want to be. I don't want to say anything bad about the Philippines and the wonderful people here, but let's just say that sometimes their understanding of our language needs a little bit of sharpening as well. So ideas that you want to be able to communicate in your own language, they're usually are better received by people who use your language as a first language. So yeah. I'm really grateful, Bill, for having met you here. So there's also that issue, the cultural difference. Now, as we've discovered, me and Bill, I think Bill will obviously he said that we're from different parts of the world, and yet strangely, Bill and I have some very, very similar interests. Coincidentally, not going into what they are. I'm just saying that it's a wonderful thing to have come all the way up, well, from, in my case, all the way around the world to come here to meet somebody that I couldn't find in England. It's very strange.
Yeah.
So thanks, Bill.
Yeah, no problem. Yeah, it's always good. It's something that to be honest with you, Steve, it was something that I was worried about being full time here in the Philippines is having friends and making friends here. Something that I feared. I feared I wouldn't be able to find somebody else that I could talk to, and there's different being friendly with someone or having a friend, right? So
Yes.
Sometimes it's so easy to be friendly with someone, but like several Filipinos here, I'm friendly with them. Hey, we'll go hang out, talk a little bit, but as far as being friends, yeah, I've not really got one that, hey, that is my friend. We talk about everything. It's a lot harder to do. And then as far as other whether it's Americans or whatever, as we both know, there's not that many in this area to even find out if you're you can become friends with them or not. So many far and few. So like to welcome in the Haskers. Thank you for coming in. Also, Adrian, thank you for hanging out with us. Go ahead, Steve. I'm sorry.
I forgot what I was going to say now. Oh, must be old age. I can't remember. Never mind. You were talking about making friends. Okay, this is a Christian issue that we're doing a thing to do with the Bible study, or however you want to name that. So of course I'm going to say, and I am going to say that I believe that there is no such thing as a coincidence. I call them God incidences. And the fact that I have traveled, what is it? I can never work out how many thousands of miles it is from England to here, but it's a lot. To come all that way and to live in this, where we're living in the southern end of the back end of beyond, which is Mindanao. It's to find someone of that where we can get on with each other just very, very well. I would never have imagined that was possible. In fact, when you say you feared it, Bill, I mean, it wasn't something that. It was something that in my mind, but I was prepared to sort of go. When I came back here, I was prepared to say to myself, "Okay, fine, I accept the fact that it's going to be a bit of in the wilderness, living out there. I'm not likely to find someone who I can speak to, blah, blah, blah. I'll have to develop my language skills in other ways, whatever, And hey, presto, what have we got? But I found you, which is great. So that's a God incidence that we both end up going to the same church in the local town, Coincidence?
Yeah. There you go.
So I don't know what people think about that. I guess those people who may not follow the Lord may think, well, that's a lot of rubbish. If you think that's a lot of rubbish, I'm going to ask you guys, go to my channel and look at one of my new other videos, because there it was one of it's called Children Are Our Future. Okay. In that particular video, I talk about what happened when my daughter was. Now, I'm not going to tell you the story now, but I'm just I'd ask you, go and look at that, and then have a listen to that and see what you think, and then you decide for yourself: is there some strange connection between people that we can't explain? So I'll leave that with you. It's up to you.
Right.
I'll leave that as a bit of a mystery. Okay.
Right. Exactly. I read a book that explained it so well, but I cannot. Yeah, I can't remember what it was called now. Back in
No.
America, I had all the books on the shelf, and I could. That's the book that I read for that, and let me suggest that out to somebody. But here, I don't have a big bookshelf full of books that that I can quote real
No.
quick when I can't remember.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
I had a big book, a bookshelf of books. They're all stuffed in boxes somewhere, not too far from Manila, and they've been there for 10 years since I was here before. So I've had to start getting some new ones. My bookshelf is as big as it's going to get now. So yeah, it's.
and I don't have one now. I got a
You
nightstand
don't have
with
one?
a few books on it. Not a
Right.
bookshelf. Not a. I mean, I got
I can't
places
resist.
where I could put books if I had it, but yeah. Usually it's my
Well,
side table, stack them up on. So,
I was collecting books before I came back to the Philippines. And I had to stop myself. I said, Steve, stop it, because you know that you're going to end up putting them in a box, and they could end up getting destroyed in the traveling between there and here. And that reminds me, this has got nothing to do with the subject, by the way, we're talking about, but I've got to tell you this. When I received my boxes that I sent, what they call balik bayan, which is house, home to home, or whatever that means. But it's a Filipino company who do door-to-door delivery from England. Well, they do it from all over the world, but from England to here. And so I used this company. I got some proper packing boxes, but they were cardboard. I filled them up, packaged and taped them all up, and put them all. It was great. Anyway, so I arrived here on the plane, and of course I'm waiting for my baggage, and it arrived. It took a while, but it arrived. To find, what did I find? That these are, by the way, big boxes. They're boxes about, I don't know, about 24 by 24, so 2 foot by 2 foot by 2 foot boxes. So they're not huge, and I had about 5 or 6 of them. And we got a phone call from somebody, and they said basically, "Oh, your boxes, your delivery's here from, your shipping." And what did I do? We explained to him where we lived, so he said, "Right, okay." And what did you expect? Well, we expected a wagon to draw up, and we expected a couple of guys to jump out and put our boxes onto maybe some trailers or carry them in or whatever. No, nothing like that. No. This poor one guy left his wagon about half a mile away, a quarter of a mile away, managed to put all of my boxes onto a little trailer and onto his shoulder, and he's carrying them like this, walking quarter of a mile with this stuff to our house. And when they arrived, I looked at it and I went, "Oh, good grief." The packaging was all torn and broken, and I thought, is there going to be anything left inside my boxes? Well, 1 or 2 things did go missing, but it's a very different way here, isn't it, Bill? In some ways. What you take for granted in good old US of A and Britain and France and anywhere else that you happen to live, Australia, but you take for granted there ain't the same here. Okay, just,
yeah, definitely not. Yeah. I'd like to welcome in. Let's see, Pacific. Ron, thank you for coming. Let's see, Walking in Truth Ministries, thank you for coming in. Hey, if you guys haven't hit that thumbs up, please do so. If you haven't hit the link at the top of the chat, please also consider doing so. That is Elect Bible Ministries channel, where you can find them and get connected with them, and do it the right way. Watch the video. subscribe, and also leave a comment. That'll help his channel grow. He's very light
Right.
on subscribers right now, but that's what we're here for, to help him grow and bring some attention to what he's putting out there. So some good stuff.
Well, it's early
And
days. Yeah, it's early days.
yeah.
I just want to jump in, Bill, if I may. While we're talking about the channel, for people who've maybe just been coming in, and you're mentioning about going to the website, onto my channel on YouTube, just to sort of say that we're new to this, new to doing this, but I just want to say that the content of the videos that I'm producing, I've only recently started doing videos like this. This is a live stream, but doing some recorded video videos on there. The content of those is going to be it's going to be geared towards certain, we'll call it human conditions or problems that we face, both as if you're a secular person, if you're not a believer, or if you are a believer. The idea is that the material is there, and it's going to be. I want it to be of help to people. That's the whole point of this, really. So there are going to be different subjects that I will cover there over a period of time. So just to give you a sort of an idea, the ones we've talked today about the power of fear and how we can maybe overcome that. The next one, next series, if you like, that I've done there is to do with an issue that's very close to most people's hearts right at the moment, and that is the situation that children are in. So that's about looking at the issues of children. I'm also providing, doing short videos of a short prayer video on either that or similar subjects. So that's kind of where I'm going with the channel. Yeah,
That's awesome. Kevin has a question.
Select Bible Ministries page on WordPress. Yes, it is. WordPress.com. There's two WordPresses in the world, isn't there? And I can never remember how to tell you one or the other. But it's WordPress.com. Let's have a look on here. And yes, it is. So that's all. That's the simple answer to that. Yes, it's on WordPress.
Yeah, and I wasn't for sure, so I didn't know what to tell him. Yeah, it's
yeah.
Steve, you said you have your YouTube channel, which is Elect Bible Ministries. You can find it again. The link is there. You have your website. Is it same name? If they type it in, how can they find you?
Yes. Yes, the website. Again, it's on the links to the videos on every video that I've done. But just so that you know, I'm trying to keep the costs down, obviously. So I'm using a free website. So the website is, and this is all one word, by the way, electbibleministries.wordpress.com. Okay, it's quite a long one, awesome. But to do it any other way means that you've got to buy a domain name and do all of that stuff. And really, we just need to keep the costs as low as possible. And free is about as low as you can get, really.
Right. Yeah. That's the cost.
Go on.
I was just saying that's the cost I like, as far as the free.
Well, if you can get it for free, I mean, the website I created, I think I must have been about 4 or 5 years ago now, probably longer. And it started off with very humble beginnings. I didn't know where it was going to go, and it's still quite humble, really. But it's there, and the great thing about WordPress is it's free, and they're a platform that has been growing in its ability to provide a decentish kind of website. So I have no complaints. They keep trying to persuade me to spend some money, but I resist. So there it is. So on the website, just on the subject of the website, I try to I use the blog part of the website for new to promote new videos and so on, and occasional article that I write as well. But I started it, and I want it to be a resource, if you like, for people who are looking for Christian education. Now, when we mention Christian education, I'm not talking about education for children. Okay, that's something completely different. All right. The course, what I aim to do is to provide material for people who are either new to Christianity or feel that they want to boost their knowledge of Christianity in its fundamentals, if you like, in the basic elements. So the courses that I've put on there, some of them I've made, a couple of them I've made myself. They're downloadable materials. Everything on there is free. Some of the stuff I have managed to acquire from sources from other places who have been happy to let me host them as well on my website so that I can put them on there. Basically, it's about provision, finding a suitable material that's suitable for that's not actually an in-depth, shall we say, theological study, but nevertheless gives you good, sound, solid Christian doctrine, which is something that I really do believe people are missing in a lot of cases.
Right.
So that's the website, electbibleministries.wordpress.com.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing that. Again, you said the links are in your videos on your channel. So the best way, everybody here is on YouTube. So go there first and then see your way over to the website for more detailed. Again, Steve is figuring out the YT world, if you'd like to say it that way. He's got some stuff that he's done before, and then he's got some newer stuff that he's put on there. So go check it out. Some of it is longer, like more of a study, and then some of it is shorter, more of topic based. Then, like you said,
like the two videos. Like the two videos we've looked at today, they're sort of 10, 15 minutes at the most, something like that. But the other stuff that you mentioned, the one that's longer, what I'm doing is I already created 2 studies in PowerPoint format. I did that before I came back here to the Philippines. What I wanted to do was, given the lockdown situation in the world and all the rest of it, what I was going to do was use those things to try and do some face-to-face teaching, Christian education. However, lockdown, etc., means that face-to-face teaching is out the window. You just can't do it. So that's when I started redoing, if you like, or creating videos or vidcasts, I'm not sure what you call them, of each of the studies. So I've had to sort of transpose it from being a PowerPoint to make it into something slightly different, but so that it's available for people to look at at their own leisure, as it were, on YouTube. So some of each of the studies are quite long, but obviously the beauty of YouTube and videos is that you've got the pause button, haven't you? So, or you can come back to it at a later time. And I've put chapters in there, so it's usable like that. So, horses for courses.
Everybody, again, I want to thank you for joining us today. We're at the 2-hour mark, and that's what I want to try to keep us to, not to make this too long where people won't come back and watch and join in. So we will be having more of this type of live streams. So come back for more. We talked about joining Steve over at Elect Bible Ministry, and really appreciate such a large crowd in here today. Of course, you never know what you're going to get, so I didn't have any kind of expectation of what was going to happen today. I think we did better as far as making sure we put it out there a couple days in advance or whatever. I know we did not get to everything everybody's question, etc. And again, I was just trying to keep us on topic, the fear topic. We will be doing more again, like I said, but today we have to end it, and look forward to seeing and talking to you guys again. Make sure you guys look for upcoming live streams, and again, check out Steve over at Elect Bible Ministries, and that is that's where we're going to end for today. So everyone that came, we really appreciate you. Thank you for sharing this out. Thank you for the questions.
Thanks everyone
that
for,
you and joining. We definitely appreciate it. And my dogs are telling me it's time to go. I don't know if you guys can hear them, but they're getting started over here. So
it's all right. My tummy's rumbling as well.
All right, everybody. Thank you again for joining us. Yes, lunchtime. It's time to eat.
All right. God bless everybody. Thank you very much for coming. Everything Bill said, I agree with. Wonderful.
Bye
for now.
Bye-bye.